Hello. It's really a pleasure to be a participant in the third International Conference on Quantitative and Qualitative Methods for Social Sciences. But before starting my presentation, I would like to express my thanks to the committee that organized this event. Thank you so much. Our contribution, intitulated The Longitudinal Method, Study of the Change Process in Qualitative Studies in Management Sciences, aims to provide element of clarification regarding the definition, typologies, data collection methods, and analysis of the results in longitudinal qualitative research. To do so, we are going to start our presentation by an introduction, and after that, the importance will be given to the clarification of the concept longitudinal method and its typologies. Thirdly, we would like to clarify how we collect and analyze data in longitudinal qualitative research. And of course, we are going to finish our contribution by a conclusion. As you know, in management sciences, and despite its importance, the development and use of qualitative longitudinal research is still limited. Unlike cross-sectional methods, this method provided researchers with data that allowed them to understand the development and change of a phenomena over time. And through the future development, we would like to take off the ambiguity about this method, starting with the concepts, the clarification of the concepts and its typologies. The longitudinal method towards clarity of the concepts. Unlike the cross-sectional data collection method and analysis, the longitudinal method, also called panel data studies, is still an ambiguous tool with non-consensus on its definition. Forks, Dermes, and Garou describe as longitudinal any study that aims to analyze the evolution of different phenomena over time. Polyhart and Vanderberg share this definition by suggesting that longitudinal research focuses on the study of change. These definitions explicitly emphasize change and the importance of time in distinguishing this method from cross-sectional research. Indeed, longitudinal research is inseparable from time, which can be given an important role or be relegated to the background. This point is developed by this figure relative to the conception of time in this method. The first one, time could be not important. It only serves to classify the observations. Secondly, time could be an important variable, operationalized as duration or operationalized in chronological form. Fourthly, time could be used to classify individuals into cohorts for comparison purposes. And finally, time could be seen as a social construct. We also could say that longitudinal analyses are opposed to cross-sectional studies by the number of data collected. Researchers in the field specify that the collection of many waves of repeated measurements is essential to conduct a longitudinal study. But the number of times data are collected is still a point of divergence between researchers. Some researchers argue that 2 times are enough, but this point of view is largely criticized. For the types of longitudinal studies and exploring the literature, we found 4 types of longitudinal studies. The first one, trend studies. The researcher aims to examine the changes that a representative sample of a general population has experienced over time. The second one, panel designs, is characterized by the collection of repeated measures from the same sample at different points in time. The unit of analysis is tracked at specific intervals over a long period, often many years. The cohort studies involve studying the same population each time data are collected, even though the sample may differ from one period to another. The last one, time series design, involves a series of measurements at periodic intervals, usually to measure the impact of a specific change that occurs at some points during those measurements. Move on to the data collection. There are 2 methods, the prospective method and retrospective method. The first one consists of studying the subjects selected over time, And the second one, the study is conducted on the past behaviors of said subjects. The analysis of longitudinal qualitative data. We start with the description, and after that, the analysis, and finally, the interpretation. At the level of description, the researcher is supposed to produce a monograph of the process studies. This consists of writing its history in narrative form by describing it in detail. This monograph makes it possible to reconstruct the sequence of events. The objective of this phase is to follow the evolution of the conceptual categories over time. The analysis. This phase is devoted to explain how and why the changes occurred. The analysis of longitudinal qualitative data can aim either at understanding the changes of the same objects over time or understanding the emergence of a phenomena over time. The first one is illustrated by this figure. As you see, we have one phenomenon, and we would like to understand how the phenomena changes over time. The second one, we have a lot of events, a lot of mechanisms, and we would like to understand the realization of a phenomena over time. The interpretation. The final step in the analysis of longitudinal qualitative data is interpretation. It allows us to explain the nature and meaning of the changes and to develop, in some cases, a theory that allows the transfer of the results obtained to other implementation contexts. To conclude, I would like to say that through the past development, we have exposed the interest of longitudinal qualitative research in the management sciences. It consists of understanding a phenomena by looking at how and why it evolves. However, despite the above mentioned benefits, the present method still faces a number of important challenges related to the design of qualitative research in management sciences, the most important of which are the increased financial and temporal requirements associated with this approach and the risk of losing track of the units of analysis over time. And thank you so much.